Ethan Parker hadn't meant to buy anything significant at the Centauri Trade Station's monthly auction. He'd come to scout the competition, maybe pick up a few small artifacts he could flip for profit in the Outer Rim. But when Lot 937 appeared on the holoscreen, something about it caught his eye. The artifact looked simple enough, a platinum white cylinder about the length of his forearm, covered in swirling patterns that seemed to move in the light. The auctioneer, a tall Andromedian with silver skin, called it a stellar artifact of unknown origin. But it was the energy readings that made Ethan lean forward in his seat. He'd never seen anything like them. Opening bid at 10,000 credits, the auctioneer announced. Ethan found himself raising his hand before he could think better of it. The next few minutes passed in a blur of competing bids, but he refused to back down. When the hammer finally fell at 75,000 credits, he had to suppress a wince. That was most of his operating capital for the next 3 months. "Congratulations, sir," the auctioneer said. "Please proceed to Collection Room Delta for your complete acquisition." Something about the phrasing made Ethan's spine tingle. He followed a green-uniformed attendant down a series of increasingly secure corridors, his hand instinctively checking the blaster at his hip. The station's artificial gravity seemed to grow heavier with each step. The collection room turned out to be a large chamber dominated by a cylindrical stasis pod. Ethan's breath caught in his throat as he saw who was inside. A woman floated in the crystalline suspension fluid, her skin a pale opalescent white that seemed to shimmer with its own inner light. Her long hair drifted around her like starlight given form. "The stasis pod comes with the artifact, sir," the attendant said smoothly. "They're genetically linked. One won't function without the other." "You're selling a person?" Ethan's voice came out as a growl. "That's illegal in Confederation space." "We're selling a complete artifact system," the attendant corrected. "What you do with it is your business. The genetic key you purchased will either activate or deactivate the stasis field." "Good day, sir." Before Ethan could respond, the attendant had vanished through a door that sealed seamlessly into the wall. He was alone with the mysterious woman in the pod. Ethan studied the cylinder in his hand, noting how the pattern seemed to pulse in time with the woman's slow heartbeat. His father had taught him that a person's character was defined by the choices they made when no one was watching. The choice here seemed clear. He stepped forward and pressed the artifact against the pod's control panel. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the swirling patterns flared with brilliant light. The suspension fluid began to drain as the stasis field flickered and died. The woman's eyes snapped open, they were the color of distant nebulae, swirling with purples and blues. She gasped as the pod opened, stumbling forward on unsteady legs. Ethan caught her before she could fall. "Easy there," he said softly. "You're safe now." She looked up at him, her ethereal features showing confusion and wonder. When she spoke, her voice carried harmonics that made his skin tingle. "You freed me?" "Why?" "Because keeping people in boxes is wrong," Ethan said simply. "I'm Ethan Parker." "Can you tell me your name?" "Nyara," she whispered. "I am called Nyara." "And you, Ethan Parker, have just involved yourself in something far larger than you know." He helped her stand steady, noting how her skin seemed to pulse with gentle light in response to her emotions. "Story of my life. Are you in trouble? Do you need help getting home?" Nyara's expression turned grave. "I cannot go home. Not yet. There are those who would use my people's gifts to remake the galaxy in their image. I was hidden here to protect our secrets." She touched the artifact he still held. "That key was supposed to be found by someone who would keep me in stasis forever." "Well, they didn't count on human unpredictability," Ethan said with a slight smile. "Look, my ship's docked here. It's not much, but it's fast and well armed. If you need to stay hidden, I can help. No strings attached." Nyara studied him with those cosmic eyes, and Ethan had the distinct impression she was seeing more than just his physical form. You would risk yourself for a stranger? Wouldn't be the first time. Besides, I just spent most of my credits on that key. Might as well get an adventure out of it. A small smile curved her luminescent lips. Perhaps this is why the prophecy spoke of a human. She straightened, seeming to come to a decision. I accept your offer, Ethan Parker. But know that from this moment, your life will never be the same. Lady, Ethan grinned, offering her his arm, that sounds like my kind of party. As they made their way through the station's corridors toward his ship, Ethan couldn't shake the feeling that he'd just set something massive in motion. But watching Nyara's wonder as she experienced freedom for the first time in who knew how long, he knew he'd made the right choice. Whatever storm was coming, they'd face it together. The Stellar Wanderer wasn't much to look at from the outside, a modified Hawkeye-class merchant vessel with more hidden weapon ports than cargo holds. But as Ethan guided Nyara through its main airlock, her ethereal features lit up with genuine appreciation. Your ship, she breathed, running her opalescent fingers along the corridor walls. It sings with memories. You've traveled far in her. Ethan raised an eyebrow as he sealed the airlock behind them. You can sense that? My people are attuned to the echoes of space-time. Nyara's nebula-colored eyes traced the worn but carefully maintained interior. Every journey leaves its mark, like ripples in the cosmic fabric. He led her to the ship's small medical bay, noting how her luminescent skin cast soft patterns on the metal walls. Let's make sure that stasis pod didn't leave any lasting effects. He gestured to the diagnostic scanner. May I? Nyara nodded, gracefully settling onto the examination bed. As the scanner hummed to life, Ethan couldn't help but study her more closely. Her features were humanoid but held an otherworldly beauty that went beyond her glowing skin and stellar eyes. There was something both ancient and timeless about her presence. The scanner's results made him frown. Your cellular structure. I've never seen anything like it. It's as if your body is partially composed of stellar matter. Close. Nyara's lips curved in a small smile. My people evolved in the coronas of dying stars. We are children of the stellar winds, though we've taken humanoid form over the millennia. Before Ethan could process that revelation, the ship's proximity alarm blared. He sprinted to the bridge, Nyara close behind. 3 heavily armed vessels had just dropped out of hyperspace, their designs marking them as belonging to the Shadow Cartel, the most notorious criminal organization in the Outer Rim. They traced the genetic key's activation, Nyara said grimly. We need to leave. Now. Ethan's hands flew across the controls, bringing the Wanderer's engines online. Hold on to something. This might get rough. The ship rocketed away from the station, but the cartel vessels were already moving to intercept. Energy weapons flared to life, filling space with deadly green pulses. Ethan. Nyara's voice held an odd resonance. Do you trust me? He glanced at her between evasive maneuvers. I freed you, didn't I? She stepped forward, placing her hands on his shoulders. Her skin began to pulse with increasing brightness. Then fly straight into that nebula. Don't deviate, no matter what you see. The massive gas cloud ahead was notorious for disrupting ship systems. That's suicide, he protested. The electromagnetic interference will dash. I am a star child, she interrupted. The nebula cannot harm me. And while I live, it cannot harm you. Trust me. Something in her voice, in those cosmic eyes, made him nod. Ethan turned the ship toward the roiling clouds of stellar gas and dust. The cartel ships followed, their weapons continuing to streak past the Wanderer's hull. As they plunged into the nebula's outer layers, Nyara began to glow brighter. Her voice took on harmonics that seemed to resonate with the very fabric of space. The ship's sensors went dark, but a new kind of awareness filled Ethan's mind. He could feel the currents and eddies in the gas cloud as if they were extensions of his own body. "My gift," Nyara whispered, her hands tightening on his shoulders. "I can navigate the stars themselves. This is why they want me. Why my people sent me away to hide." Through their shared perception, Ethan guided the ship through impossible turns and twists in the nebula's structure. Behind them, angry explosions marked the demise of their pursuers as the cartel ships flew blindly into lethal gas pockets. When they finally emerged from the other side of the nebula, Nyara's glow dimmed. She swayed, and Ethan caught her before she could fall. That was... He searched for words. "Incredible. Are you all right?" She nodded weakly. "The connection takes much energy. But it was necessary." Her nebula eyes met his. "Now you understand why I must remain hidden. The cartel would use my abilities to create undetectable shipping lanes for their operations. Others would exploit me for even darker purposes." Ethan helped her to a seat, noticing how her touch lingered on his arm. "Well, they'll have to get through me first. And I'm notoriously difficult to kill." "You're either very brave or very foolish," Nyara said softly. "Though perhaps those are the same thing in humans. Hey, I'm just a simple trader who happened to buy a mysterious artifact." He gave her a lopsided grin. "Everything else is just bonus adventure." Her answering laugh held notes that made the ship's hull resonate. "There is nothing simple about you, Ethan Parker. I begin to understand why fate guided that key to your hands." As Ethan plotted a course deeper into unexplored space, he found himself wondering what other wonders this strange woman might show him. The rational part of his mind screamed that he was in way over his head. But watching Nyara's quiet grace as she studied the star field ahead, he couldn't bring himself to care. Sometimes the best adventures were the ones you never saw coming. The trading outpost on Helios 7 was exactly the kind of place people went to disappear. Permanent twilight bathed its ramshackle streets in purple shadows, thanks to the binary stars that never quite set. Ethan led Nyara through the crowded marketplace, her luminescent skin hidden beneath a hooded cloak. "My contact here specializes in untraceable identities," he explained in a low voice. "If anyone can help us stay ahead of the cartel, it's him." Nyara moved with ethereal grace beside him, her nebula eyes taking in the exotic blend of species around them. "Your heart is troubled," she observed. "You're worried about trusting others. Let's just say experience has made me cautious." Ethan's hand never strayed far from his blaster. "But Raven's different. He saved my life once in the Andromeda conflict." The cantina where Raven conducted his business was tucked away in a basement level, its entrance marked only by a holographic playing card that flickered in the dim light. As they descended the stairs, the sounds of alien music and conversation grew louder. A tall, dark-skinned man with cybernetic eyes looked up from the corner booth. "Ethan Parker," Raven grinned, standing to embrace him. "Still finding trouble in all the wrong places? You know me." Ethan returned the embrace, then grew serious. "We need your help, old friend." "Off the books." Raven's artificial eyes whirred as they focused on Nyara. "I can see why. Your companion isn't exactly local." He gestured for them to sit. "What kind of documents are we talking about?" Before Ethan could answer, Nyara stiffened. "Someone here bears us ill will," she whispered. "The shadows carry hostile intent." The warning came just in time. Ethan tackled her sideways as energy bolts scorched the booth where they'd been sitting. Patrons screamed and scattered as armed figures emerged from the crowd. "Cartel assassins," Raven spat, drawing his own weapon. "I swear I didn't dash." "Save it." Ethan fired back at their attackers, creating cover for Nyara to reach the emergency exit. But more hostiles were pouring down the stairs. Nyara's voice cut through the chaos. "Ethan. The power conduits. He understood immediately. Taking careful aim, he shot the exposed power lines running along the ceiling. As electrical energy cascaded through the room, Nyara raised her hands. Her skin blazed with stellar light as she somehow caught and redirected the energy, turning it into a blinding wave that sent their attackers flying. "Run!" Ethan grabbed her hand and they bolted through the kitchen, past stunned staff members. Behind them, Raven was shouting something about meeting at a safe house. They emerged into an alley, but the sounds of pursuit were already closing in. Nyara suddenly pulled Ethan into a shadowed doorway, pressing close against him. Her ethereal glow dimmed to almost nothing as heavy footsteps thundered past their hiding place. For a moment, neither of them moved. Ethan became acutely aware of her proximity, the way her breath brushed his neck, the subtle harmonics in her heartbeat that seemed to resonate with his own. Her nebula eyes met his, filled with something that transcended mere attraction. "I can feel your emotions," she whispered. "They echo like starlight." Ethan's hand came up to brush her cheek, marveling at how her skin shimmed at his touch. "Is that a good thing?" Instead of answering, Nyara closed the distance between them. Her lips met his in a kiss that sent electric tingles through his entire body. It was like tasting stardust, like feeling the cosmic dance of binary stars. For a perfect moment, he understood what it meant to touch eternity. The moment shattered as new shouts echoed from the street. They broke apart, both breathing heavily. "We need to move," Ethan said reluctantly. "The Wanderer's not far." They ran through the twilight streets, dodging patrols and staying to the shadows. But as they approached the spaceport, Ethan's communicator crackled to life. "I'm sorry, old friend." Raven's voice was heavy with regret. "They have my family. I had to tell them you were coming." Nyara's expression hardened. "The spaceport is surrounded." "Then we don't go to the spaceport." Ethan quickly recalculated. "There's a maintenance tunnel that leads to the emergency landing pads. If we can reach the ship dash." "You would still risk everything?" Nyara interrupted. "After all this? You could walk away, claim I forced you to help me." Ethan took her hand, feeling that familiar electric connection. "Not a chance, Starlight. We're in this together." Her answering smile outshone the binary stars above. Together, they raced toward the maintenance tunnel, ready to face whatever came next. The kiss they'd shared had changed something between them, created a bond that went beyond mere attraction or duty. As they prepared to fight their way to freedom, Ethan realized he was no longer helping Nyara just because it was right. He was helping her because somehow, impossibly, he was falling in love with a woman born in the heart of a star. And he would move heaven and earth to keep her safe. Would you like me to continue with part 4? It will explore the deepening relationship between Ethan and Nyara while revealing more about her people's history and the ultimate choice they must face. The stellar wanderer drifted silently in the shadow of a massive gas giant, its systems powered down to avoid detection. In the dim emergency lighting of the bridge, Ethan watched Nyara as she communed with the stars. Her opalescent skin pulsed with gentle waves of light, her consciousness reaching out through the cosmic void. "The cartel ships are still searching the nearby systems," she reported, opening her nebula eyes. "But they haven't discovered this sanctuary yet." Ethan moved to stand beside her at the viewport. "We can't hide forever." "No," she agreed softly. "And now I must show you why." She turned to face him, her ethereal features serious. "There is a place, hidden between the spiral arms of the galaxy. My people call it the Stellar Forge. It is there that we learn to harness the power of dying stars." "Is that where we're going?" "Where I must go," she corrected. "Ethan, what I'm about to tell you, it will put you in even greater danger." He took her hand, feeling that familiar electric connection between them. "I thought we settled this. I'm not leaving you." Her fingers intertwined with his as her skin brightened. My people weren't just born in stellar coronas. We learned to create them. To forge new stars, to guide their evolution. The technology the cartel is hunting, it's not just about secret hyperspace routes. It's about controlling the very fabric of spacetime. The implications hit Ethan like a physical blow. They could collapse stars at will. Create new ones. Hold entire systems hostage. Exactly. Nyara's free hand traced the patterns of distant stars on the viewport. That's why I was chosen as a guardian, sent into stasis with the key. I contain within me the genetic memory of our stellar engineering. But I cannot access it alone. She turned back to him, her eyes swirling with cosmic energy. I need a human's capacity for intuitive leaps, for seeing patterns that logic alone cannot reveal. That's why the prophecy mentioned a human, Ethan realized. You need someone who can think outside your people's structured understanding. Before she could respond, proximity alarms blared. A massive ship had just dropped out of hyperspace, unlike anything Ethan had ever seen. Its hull seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. A cartel dreadnought, Nyara breathed. They're using experimental quantum tracking to follow my energy signature. Ethan jumped into the pilot's seat, bringing systems online. Time to see how fast this old girl can really fly. But as he prepared to engage the engines, Nyara placed a hand on his shoulder. Wait. There's another way. Her voice held new harmonics that made the ship's hull vibrate. Do you trust me completely? You know I do. Then help me remember. She moved to stand behind him, wrapping her arms around his shoulders. Her skin began to glow brighter, and suddenly Ethan's consciousness expanded. He could feel the gas giant's gravitational field, see the quantum strings that bound reality together. Through their shared perception, Nyara's genetic memories began to unfold. Ethan's human intuition helped her grasp concepts that had been locked away in her DNA for millennia. Together, they understood how to manipulate space itself. The dreadnought launched fighters, but it was already too late. Nyara's power, guided by Ethan's instincts, reached out to the gas giant's core. For a moment that stretched into infinity, they were one being, touching the fundamental forces of the universe. A new star burst into existence where the gas giant had been, its birth sending out a shockwave that scattered the cartel ships like leaves in a cosmic wind. The stellar wanderer rode the wave of plasma and radiation, protected by Nyara's abilities. When reality stabilized, Ethan found himself gasping for breath. Nyara swayed and he caught her, cradling her glowing form. That was. He searched for words. Perfect, she finished, looking up at him with eyes that held galaxies. Your mind, your heart, they complete the patterns I could never fully grasp. Now I understand why my people chose to hide this power. And why they waited for someone like you. Ethan brushed a strand of starlight hair from her face. I'm just a trader who got lucky at an auction. No. Nyara's hand caressed his cheek. You're the one who saw me as a person, not a prize. Who risked everything to do what was right. Who taught me that power means nothing without love to guide it. Their lips met in a kiss that seemed to ignite the very atoms around them. Ethan could taste stardust on her lips, feel the cosmic dance of creation in her touch. When they finally parted, her glow had spread to encompass them both. The stellar forge awaits, she whispered against his lips. Will you help me protect it? Try and stop me, he smiled. After all, I hear creating stars together is the ultimate date-night activity. Her laugh held the music of solar winds. As they set course for the hidden heart of the galaxy, Ethan realized that falling in love with a star child might be crazy, but it was exactly the kind of crazy he'd been waiting for his whole life. The universe, it seemed, had much more wonder to show them both. Would you like me to write the final part? Part 5 will bring all the threads together in an epic conclusion that tests both their love and their newfound powers. The stellar forge hung in space like a dream made real, a massive structure built within the heart of a dying star, its crystalline spires pulsing with the same otherworldly light that emanated from Nyara's skin. As the stellar wanderer approached, Ethan could feel the raw power radiating from the ancient facility. "It's beautiful," he breathed, watching rainbow auroras dance across the structure's surface. "And terrible," Nyara added softly. Her nebula eyes reflected the cosmic energies swirling around them. With the knowledge stored here, one could reshape entire galaxies. The ship's sensors suddenly screamed in warning. Multiple vessels were emerging from hyperspace, the entire cartel fleet, led by the massive dreadnought they'd escaped earlier. They followed our quantum wake, Ethan realized, hands flying across the controls. Even with the random jumps dash. They were always going to find us. Nyara's voice held both sadness and determination. "They've captured too many of my people, learned too many of our secrets. This ends today." The dreadnought's communication system crackled to life. A cold voice filled the bridge. "Surrender the Star Child and the Forge. Do this, and you may yet live, human." Ethan glanced at Nyara, seeing the resolve in her cosmic eyes. Without words, they understood what had to be done. He opened a channel. "Here's my counteroffer," he said. "Leave now, or discover exactly what happens when you threaten a Star Child and her very protective human companion." The answer came in the form of energy weapons fire. The cartel fleet advanced, their combined firepower enough to shatter planets. Nyara pressed her hands against the ship's viewport, her skin blazing brighter. "The forge responds to my presence. I can activate its defense systems, but..." She turned to Ethan. "The power required, it will burn away my physical form. I'll have to rejoin the stellar winds that birthed my people." Ethan's heart clenched. "There has to be another way." "My love," she smiled, the term sending shivers through his soul. "You taught me that sometimes we must sacrifice what we want for what is right." Her hand caressed his cheek. "But perhaps there is a third option. If you're willing." Understanding dawned. The human intuition. The patterns. She nodded. "Together, we might be able to channel the Forge's power without it destroying either of us. But we would be forever changed. The energy would rewrite your DNA, make you something neither human nor Star Child." The dreadnought's main weapon began to charge, its dark energy gathering like a malevolent star. "Will I still be me?" Ethan asked, taking her glowing hands in his. "You'll be more. We both will." He grinned. "Lady, you had me at rewrite your DNA." Their lips met in a kiss that tasted of stardust and destiny. As their consciousness merged, the forge responded. Pure stellar energy poured through them both, transforming flesh and spirit into something new and wonderful. Through their shared perception, they reached out to the heart of the dying star. But where Nyara's people had learned to harvest such stars, together they found a new way. They taught it to live again, to burn with renewed purpose. The star's rebirth sent waves of purifying plasma through the system. The cartel ships were scattered, their dark energy weapons overwhelmed by the pure stellar force. The dreadnought tried to flee, but the newborn star's gravity well proved too strong. When the light faded, Ethan opened eyes that now held their own share of cosmic fire. His skin shimmered with subtle luminescence, a perfect complement to Nyara's radiance. They were something new in the universe, a bridge between species, between stellar fire and human heart. "Well," he said, looking at his glowing hands. "This will make customs interesting." Nyara's laugh held the music of solar winds. "We'll need to teach others. There will be more of my people seeking awakening, and humans worthy of joining them. A school for stellar human hybrids?" Ethan pulled her close. "Could be fun." Though we should probably start with the honeymoon. Honeymoon? Human tradition. Involves lots of traveling, stargazing, and... He kissed her neck, feeling energy spark between them, creative uses of cosmic power. Her nebula eyes sparkled. Perhaps your species has good ideas after all. As they set course for the distant stars, their joined energy causing the ship's hull to shimmer with aureate light, Ethan marveled at how much had changed since that fateful auction. He'd gone from a simple trader to something entirely new, all because he'd chosen to do the right thing. But looking at Nyara, seeing the love and wonder in her cosmic eyes, he knew he'd make the same choice again in every universe, across every dimension. Some things, after all, were written in the stars. And their story was just beginning. The end.